how do we learn from you and the SEALs to handle our pain when we're in the midst of pain? Because it hurts, and it hurts physically sometimes, obviously, and then some of us are dealing with emotional pain. What do we do in those moments when we're feeling the most pain and we're going, I cannot go one more second?
So this is the thing. A few years ago, the Navy SEALs designed a program called the BUDS Prep Program. And my last 2 years in the military, I did 21 years. They sent me down to Great Lakes, Chicago, and we were training these guys to get ready to go to BUDS, SEAL training, because a lot of guys weren't getting through. We thought this program would help them get through. So these guys would leave our program studs, push-ups, sit-ups, swimming, everything. But the numbers were the exact same. So I was scratching my head, like, how in the world can these guys go through 2 months of this before they get to BUDS and still quit? Now, I'm going to answer your question in a second. No, go for it. I started going back through my mind and realizing one thing. We were building bigger, stronger, faster quitters. Why is that? If you don't work on the one thing, the most powerful weapon in the world is your mind. So the answer to your question is this. Whether it be physical pain or mental pain, we all have to start from zero with pain. And what that means is, if you don't go back, we all have something that bothers us. Everybody in this world is insecure about something. That's right. Something like, whether it be your family, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your wife, your husband, your kids, something has messed you up. And whenever you're in physical pain, even though you might not be thinking about that mental stuff that happened to you, your mind is thinking about it. All these dungeons that we've created, all these trap doors that our life has created. I was at military free fall school with Morgan Luttrell. Marcus Luttrell, if you guys don't know, was the lone survivor, the guy. He was in a bad op went bad. He was the only Navy SEAL that lived. Long story short, got to get the book, read Lone Survivor, great story. Morgan is Marcus Luttrell's twin brother, and I was there with Marcus. So what happened was, myself and Morgan were in free fall school. At the same exact time, Marcus was in the worst incident in SEAL history. So I knew that Marcus might be dead. He wasn't dead, everybody else was dead. So I actually brought Morgan, I actually told Morgan, hey man, your brother was in a bad incident. I don't know if he's alive, I don't know what's going on. Long story short, Marcus is alive, and I go on to want to raise money for families. All these guys died, they all had kids. I want to raise money for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. It's a foundation where 100% tuition goes to these kids to go to college, full tuition, whatever. So I found this great foundation. I'm going to raise money for it. So I said, you know what? I have to Google something that's evil, something very hard. I knew nothing about ultra marathons. I hadn't even run a marathon. I knew nothing about this world. So I Googled the top 10 hardest races in the world. And what comes up is a Badwater 135. It's a 135-mile race through Death Valley in the summertime. I thought it was a stage race. I thought it was a race where you run like 20 miles, set up camp, barbecue outside, and then go run some more the next day. So I called the race director up at the race and said, hey, Chris, his name is Chris Cosby, I want to do your race. So we had a long conversation. I was much heavier then, and I hadn't put running shoes on in over a year.
How heavy are you?
I'm around between 240 to 270. I'm in there. I'm in that range. My weight has varied a lot through the SEAL team, out of the SEAL team, so I was a heavy guy. But the long and short of it all was, I hadn't put running shoes on in over a year. I was a big-time power lifter. I lifted weights heavy. That's what I did. I got back home from Iraq, went straight to free fall school, and then this happened. So I called Chris Cosby up on a Wednesday. He says, look, man, the only way you can qualify for my race is to run 100 miles at one time in 24 hours or less. It happened to be a race that Saturday, so 4 days later. And he said, if you qualify by running 100 miles or less in 24 hours, I will consider you my race. I'm going to cut to the chase. I signed up for this race. It's called the San Diego One Day, where you run around a 1 mile track for 24 hours to see how many miles you can get. My goal was 100 miles. So I got to mile 70, and I cleared 70 miles in like 12, 13 hours, pretty quickly. But I was done. My feet were broken. I was stress fractures, shin splints, muscles were tearing. I was in bad shape. I was eating Ritz crackers and drinking Mileplex. That's all I had. No water, didn't know what the hell I was doing out there. Had on some tube socks. It was just ridiculous. It was a clown show. Well, for me, that's why I wanted to become a Navy SEAL. I wanted people to push me outside of my comfort zone every day. And I thought this was going to be the absolute best platform to do that. These guys, the stories I heard after BUDS, it just gets harder. And I didn't see it that way.
Because BUDS is just to become the SEAL.
That's right. I'm like, my God, I can't imagine what the fuck's going to happen. But what happens to a lot of people, not everybody, can't speak for everybody, I don't know everybody. BUDS breaks people down to the point where you don't want to be broken down again like that. To me, that was exact starting point for my journey in life. That was the starting point for me. For a lot of people, it's the finish line. And I didn't see it that way for me. So that's where I started becoming uncommon amongst uncommon people, is where I started realizing that you put people on a pedestal that you shouldn't. That you got to get in there yourself and examine people. See what's really about yourself. So once I got in there and realized, hey, these are just normal people. Yeah, they're a lot better than some. They're able to get through. I know a lot of people who can get through Navy SEAL training. But, there's a lot of mystique behind all that stuff. And as you start to go through and you start to break it open a little bit, a lot of hard guys, but, I wanted more. The first hell week, I was still doubting myself. Sure. Because when you sign up, these guys come from the academy, the Naval Academy. These guys come from, a lot of them, not all of them, but they come from really good families. Right. They're almost like their dads were SEALs, their grandfathers were SEALs. Right. They come from a lot better. I mean, I had to teach myself, I had to earn my way just to get in the Navy. Right. Let alone be a SEAL. And I quit Air Force training, and now I'm going for the best. So my self-esteem, even though I was building it up and I lost weight and stuff like that, I'm now around the most uncommon of uncommon people. Yeah. And I'm like, my God, I'm here. Yeah. Do I belong here? Yes. Do I belong? Do I belong here? So your mind has a good way of taking the path of least resistance. Whenever friction happens, friction causes growth. Whenever friction happens, that's why a lot of us don't have any growth, because when friction happens, we go the opposite direction. So in my mind, when friction happened, my mind said, oh, hey, man, let's get out of here. You're a fraud. Yeah. You're not real. You've lied your whole life. You come from this, you can barely read. Right. Those things, so whenever times got hard, my mind said, you're not good enough. Let's go. One thing that hurt me a lot was I thought everybody wanted the same thing I wanted. Not everybody wants the same thing you fucking want. Everybody wants to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and beat themselves and find more about themselves and shit like that. And I thought the SEALs did. Most people don't. Yeah. And I thought the SEALs did. I thought that's what, because every book you read, that's what everybody does. So I was hook, line, and sinker. So that mentality that I had, it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, once I realized that not everybody was like this in the community. And I was like, you know what, man? So then I started having chips on my shoulder. I had my own little thing I was doing with a couple guys, working out on my own, doing my own little thing. And when you start doing that stuff and you start to drive yourself away from people, and I was already different as it was. Even if I didn't do that, I already came in being very different. Like I tell people, I was a part of the Navy SEAL teams. I wasn't part of the brotherhood. Right. And
You're not going out and partying.
I'm not going out. No, that's not me. That's never been me, though. Like, if I was in a college, if I was in I couldn't be part of a fraternity, man. I would never join a fraternity. Ever. I'm like, hey, fuck you all, man. I got my own shit going on over here, man. Go fuck yourself. That's me. I don't like fraternities. So I sat down at mile 70, and at this time I was married. And I look at my wife, and I was like, I'm messed up bad. So I literally start to turn white. And when a black guy turns white, you're pretty fucked up. So here I am, I'm all fucked up in this chair. I'm at mile 70, I got 30 fucking miles to go. I'm jacked up. I gotta go to the bathroom. The bathroom's like 20 feet from me, it's a porta potty. I can't get out of the fucking chair. So I'm peeing blood down my leg. Whoa. Pooping up my fucking back. And I got 30 miles to go. And I can't stand up because my blood pressure's all messed up. I've been in 3 hell weeks, Ranger school, overcome so many obstacles in my life. this last 30 miles of this race is when I realized a human being is not so human. We have the ability to go in such a space if you're willing to suffer, and I mean suffer. Your brain and your body, once connected together, can do anything. And this 30 miles was the life-changing moment. I was out of it. I was in the worst pain in my entire life. I was, to me, on the brink of death. And I was able to chunk this 30 damn miles into small pieces. I was so driven, and I'm not gonna say motivated, because motivation's crap. Motivation comes and goes. When you're driven, whatever's in front of you will get destroyed. So I sat in this chair and I was so driven to succeed in this race. And at this time, everybody goes, were you thinking about the guys that died? And I'm not gonna lie to you, I wasn't. This became a personal thing. This became me against this race, me against the kids that called me nigger, me against me. It just became something that I took so violently personal. And I broke this thing down into small pieces. I said, okay, I gotta get nutrition. I gotta be able to stand up before I can get off this curb and get off this chair and be able to go 30 miles. So I went through all these small steps, and I was able to stand up. And then from standing up, I was literally walking around with my wife at the time, and she goes, you're not gonna make the time. She goes, you're walking like 30-some minute miles. You have to remind yourself, we all have a story. All of us have gone through very hard times. But when we're in a hard time, our mind has a way of forgetting what all we've overcome. I have a way of taking 1 second when I want to quit and saying, okay, you endured this. So I look at my life and how I came up as the ultimate training ground versus most people look at it as why? Woe is me. God, why?
Right, exactly.
Why?
Right.
I had to flip this upside down and say, hang on a second. God was training me to be one of the baddest men on the planet.
Absolutely right.
That's how this was my journey.
Do you begin to realize in this moment how mentally strong you are?
Yes, because those things beat me.
Sure.
But they didn't kill me.
No, not
and
at
I
all.
was able to work around them and figure out ways through it. So when I was in the worst time of my life in Hell Week, I looked at everybody and said, I'm the most trained person here.
Yeah, well, that's the truth.
I've gone through more mental torture than any of you all can even fathom.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the baddest people on the planet. I'm looking at them like this. You guys can't hold a stick. So I started looking at verses like, I don't belong here, versus like, I might be the baddest person to ever come here.
Wow.
Who could have pulled this off? Who could have been given a sewer to live in their mind and say, okay, at birth, I'm gonna put you in the worst place on the planet Earth, and let me see if you can go to the top of the mountain with nothing. But just hard work, grit, and figuring it out, and not putting yourself back in the dungeon every time something got hard. So that's what became my daily voice was, you really are the baddest person on the planet. And after a period of time, you start to believe that. And so that's what happened to the first Hell Week, the second Hell Week, the third Hell Week. That became my new norm. So what most people fear, I can never go through one. I don't want to go through two. Even SEALs will tell you that. That Navy, so I did 18 months in Navy SEAL training. It's only supposed to be 6 months long. It became my new norm. And that's what people don't do enough of. You're always looking for a new norm. And that's how my mind started saying, getting beat, getting tortured, suffering, broken legs, kidney issues. This is my new norm. And my mind started changing with the reality of who I want to be. Just me, when you join the SEAL teams, you're joining a big fraternity. So I was already asked out. So then when you're asked out not wanting to hang out, I wasn't a dick. I do my own shit. That's me. So I grew up wanting friends at a young age. And once you get self-esteem and shit, you know who you are. I was comfortable. You're not liking me, but not hanging out. And then you take it to another step further with this being hard mentality of if you guys aren't doing what I'm doing, you guys aren't shit. So I did a lot of things that push people the wrong way, that rub people the wrong way. And in that, being in the fraternity, It's like a big soap opera. It's like the fucking guiding light. And, you know, people start not liking you for certain reasons. People don't know who the fuck you are. Rumor mills start happening. Then I have 2 heart surgeries. People think I don't want to fucking deploy overseas. Oh, Goggins don't want to fight. He just wants to run. But I'm not going out and say I had 2 heart surgeries. I couldn't even go fight. So there's a lot of things happen, and within that, it's life. I got to mile 81, and the second she said that I'm not going to make the time, I ran the last 19 miles nonstop. And I can show you right now when we get done with this. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you right now. This was years ago, and I had to put compression tape on my ankle. And so this was years ago. I had literally the size of $50. I had to get compression tape, and I taped up my ankles, and I taped up my feet. And that's how I got through that race.
Was it like a hematoma? I mean, what happened
was, like my shins hurt so bad from having stress fractures that the only way I could continue on was I taped it so I wasn't doing the flexure motion that activates your shins. So I taped my ankles and my shins up, and I got that from because in my 3rd hell week, they weren't gonna let me go back to training anymore.
Right.
So I literally went through all of BUD/S, my last SEAL training with stretch fractures, shin splints. And how I did it was I would tape my ankles all the way up to my calf every morning. So for the first hour, the pain was excruciating. But what would happen is my feet would go numb. And I did that every single day for 6 months.
Whoa!
And that's how I got through my 3rd hell week, because I was so broken from the first 2 that the commander said, hey, the CEO said, this is your last time we'll send you through. So that's how I got the idea to do that. So with the right, and people may listen to this and say, this guy is sadistic, he's crazy, no, if you know how I came up, you realize I was just a scared kid that found drive and passion for something much better than what he thought. That's all it is. I'm very fortunate that I grew up in a time when there was no phones, and there was no social media. And I suggest, yes, I'm on social media on a very limited basis because I have a story to tell, and it's a great platform. Use it as a platform, but use it as your life. My biggest advice to give everybody in the world is, like I say, we live in an external world. Everything is you gotta see it, touch it, it's external. If you can, for the rest of your life, live inside of yourself. Stop listening to people who are calling you fat, gay, transsexual, nigger. Everything that is makes no sense. All these insecure people putting their insecurities on you, you gotta flush it out. You gotta just be whoever the hell God or whoever the hell you believe in. If you believe in nothing but yourself, I don't care what it is. You gotta take everything and throw it away. You have to believe in one thing, and that is yourself. And I'm not saying don't believe in God or what you believe in, but right now, for you to find greatness in yourself, you're not going to find it by looking in a book or by even hearing me. I may give you the spark, but you've got to go inside yourself to find it. And that means you got to be quiet. Shut the fuck up, go in a room, stop talking, search your soul, search your mind, search your abilities, and you'll find it. But if you're not looking for it, you won't find it. So you got to go start your journey. And the journey starts with you finding, why the hell am I here on this planet Earth? Why am I here? And if you don't know that, you will live the rest of your life searching, always asking the question, why? Most of the time we quit is because we don't have any mental tools to get us through the other side. So my whole thing for people is you have to examine, why are you doing it in the first place? What makes people quit so much in SEAL training and all other special ops training is the mind. It's always comfortable to sit there, you're watching the Navy SEAL show, Discovery Channel, you're in a 72-degree house, you have your lemonade, your milkshake, whatever. Like, I can do that.
Oh, sure.
You're comfortable.
Although I'll say this, I never say that.
Well, some people do.
Yeah.
A lot of folks think, because it feels very comfortable in that comfortable environment.
Oh, I totally, absolutely.
The second you get out there in that environment where it's 40 degrees, like in my 3rd hell week, we had a guy die, a pulmonary edema. Died out there in my 3rd hell week. You have to really want whatever you're going for. If not, all these questions that come up, like you said, how do you go one more step further? Your mind's going to ask you all these questions. How can you go one more step further? If you don't have the answers to that, and I can't give them to you, you have to know, why am I here? For me, when I was going through SEAL training, I was willing to die. So all these negative questions that kept on coming up in my head, I had the answer for them. It's those people that don't have the answer for those negative questions.
Right.
And if you can't answer those questions, you will quit.
Right.
You will quit.
I was who I wanted to be. I was who I wanted to be. So hurting it, I don't think hurting it is being an Air Force guy, being a Navy SEAL, being a Ranger. You know, my goals were finding the baddest men on the planet, working with the baddest guys on the planet. And the heart surgeries hurt me a little bit. But what I realized is I got a lot of growth from examining people. You know, my insecurities, their insecurities. My military career was absolutely stellar. You know, not many people have pulled off honor man everywhere I went and done the things I've done. I didn't deploy as much as I wanted to. Yeah, I went to Iraq, stuff like that, but I wanted to deploy a lot more with the heart surgeries, keeping me out of training for 4 years. That hurt me a lot. But all in all, there's not many people who've done some of the things I've done.